I can hear you in English. Yes, ma'am.
Judge, are we not going to have this on the record?
Yes, we are. Is Kayleen on or not?
No?
Oh, then we better get her back in here.
Okay, hold on.
Ms. Lita, I'm told that you're trying to run two Zooms at the same time.
Well, I mean, we have to morph ourselves in the time of Zoom, apparently. So yes, I have one on standby, letting them know I'm here, and I'm running this one. It's like that every day. Otherwise, we'll never make it anywhere.
Well, as long as your bank account reflects it, that's wonderful. If it don't, not wonderful.
It doesn't, Judge, so not wonderful.
Okay. Well, that's part of learning to be a big time lawyer, is to make that distinction and make it happen.
Maybe. I don't have any control over the wheel and their payments. I just like what I do.
That's good. Very good.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here where I'm at. Of course, there's a distinction. I've been at it 48 years, and I've enjoyed the heck out of the private practice and now being the judge.
Private practice is it's interesting for sure. A lot of hustling, especially during Zoom.
Okay, Judge, we're ready.
All right. At this time, the court calls case number 659-110, State of Texas versus Nelson Alvarez-Andrade. Present is Ms. Melanie Lira, the defense counsel for the accused. And we have the state represented by Catherine Reed Pollard. The interpreter is Ms. Norma Neto. Ms. Neto, would you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that in this proceeding, you will translate accurately from English to Spanish and Spanish to English. Thank you very much. Mr. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade, are you that person?
Sí,
Would you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
lo juro.
Thank you, sir. You may put your hand down. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, how do you prefer to be referred to? Are you Nelson Alvarez, Nelson Andrade, or Nelson Alvarez-Andrade?
Judge Longoria, can you hear me? Judge, it's
Está
Kayleen.
bien
Can
los
you-
tres. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade.
Judge Longoria?
Very good. Then I shall refer to you as such.
Judge, can you hear
Longoria?
Kayleen? Can you hear Kayleen? I think she's trying to get your attention.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear Norma in the courtroom.
I don't hear you.
Okay. I think
You
we
need
have
to
to,
select English,
yes,
Kayleen.
just a minute, please. I was in here, Larry, because we're supposed to have an in-person thing, so that's weird. No, it's not your fault.
Okay.
I made the adjustments, Judge. Hopefully that'll work now. Yes, Norma, thank you. Can you hear me, Judge?
Are we ready to go? Kayleen?
Yes, sir. The last thing I heard was that you swore the defendant.
I don't hear you again.
The last thing I have on the record is that you swore in the defendant.
I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear Kayleen, Judge?
Yes, I can hear that.
The last thing I have on the record is that you swore in the defendant, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade, it is my understanding that you have made are making a plea agreement with the state. Before we proceed, I need to inform you of certain rights and protections that you have. But let's discuss a couple of things first. Are you fluent in English?
No,
Do you read and write English?
no,
Do you read and write Spanish?
sí,
And is it accurate to say that you are fluent in speaking and understanding the English spoken?
sí,
All right, the record will reflect that you are being assisted by a Spanish interpreter, Ms. Neto, who has been properly sworn, and so have you. Before we proceed, I will inform you of certain rights and protections that you are afforded by being present here. One other question I have, are you a U.S. citizen?
no,
Ms. Lita, for the record, do you believe that you have complied with Padilla versus Kentucky requirements regarding Mr. Alvarez-Andrade?
I have, Judge. We reviewed his case at length, both possible reliefs for immigration purposes and how any plea would affect those reliefs. He understands that moving forward with the DWI may subject him to deportation proceedings.
Very good, ma'am. Thank you. All right, Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, you have rights and protections. The first one that I want to mention to you is the right to remain silent. That means that you do not have to say anything. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to submit written papers that have your signature, especially papers that admit or confess wrongdoing. Secondly, you have the right to a jury trial. That means that you and your attorney, with participation by the state, could select 6 people, 6 citizens from a jury panel that would hear all the evidence, the testimony, and whatever materials would be submitted on this charge, and they would decide whether you're not guilty or whether you have been proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. If you go to trial, you have the right of confrontation, which is you would have the right to, you and your attorney would have the right to question, cross-examine or challenge any witness who would testify. In addition, you have the right of appeal. The right of appeal is a little bit complex, but it is an important right. You alone, your attorney alone, or the two of you together could demand in a proper form the right paperwork and the right information. You could demand that a higher court review the official record of this proceeding and the evidence. The official record is being prepared by Ms. Kayleen Rivera, the certified court reporter. You would review, the court would review that for whatever legal challenge you wanted to make. You'd have to be careful, though. I want you to know that you'd have time limitations, particular times, and you'd have to submit the proper paperwork and the information that's required. But that nonetheless is the right of appeal. Also, you have the right to demand that this proceeding be held in the open public courtroom. Because of the COVID pandemic, we're not doing hearings in the open public courtroom. What we're doing is by way of computer. It's called video conference. And it is my understanding, or on my observation, that there is a form that identifies you. You have signed that form. It's titled Consent to Video Conference. You and the state both have that right to demand that public hearing, but you and the state have both agreed and consented to the video conference. Is that correct?
Sí.
Now, just quickly, the different rights that I have explained, the right to remain silent, the right to a jury trial, the right to confrontation of witnesses, the right to appeal, and the right to demand a public hearing. I have recited those to you verbally. Did you understand them?
Sí.
All right. Now, you have signed documents that are part of this record. Did you review each of the documents that have your signature that are in this proceeding? Did you sign each one after reviewing them carefully with your attorney and having her advice and guidance?
Sí.
Another document that I want to remind you of is called, again, each document identifies you by name, case number, and court number. A document that I'll point out to you that is critically important is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. This document has in it an acknowledgement. It reminds you and asks you to acknowledge that in writing, it acknowledges that you have understood the different rights and protections that you've been informed of, those that I have verbally discussed with you and those that are in that document. Did you see it and review it and sign it?
Sí.
Among the things that's in that document, there's a section in there that talks about the range of punishment for the offense to which you are pleading. There's also a reminder that you understand that the agreement that you made with the state is not binding on me as the judge. As the judge, I have the authority and the obligation to decide whether I accept your plea bargain or not. I have to say yes or no. That's part of this process. Also, the process involves your plea and punishment. If I give you a punishment within a proper range, which is by law in accordance with the offense to which you are pleading. That punishment may be heavier, greater than what you agreed to. If I reject your deal, your agreement, I say, no, I'm not accepting it. Or if I give you a punishment that is properly within the range, but is greater than what you agreed to, in either of those two cases, the law would allow you to start all over again, and nothing that you've said or signed up till now would be used against you. Did you see and understand that it tells you that in those papers?
Sí.
Do you have any questions about that particular document?
No.
All right. Another document that you have reviewed is titled Trial Court's Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Momentarily, I discussed with you or reminded you that you have a right of appeal. But in making a plea bargain agreement, in making your deal, you give up the right of appeal. Did you see that document and understand it?
Sí.
All right. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, there's an, apparently, as part of your plea agreement, you will receive probation. State, am I correct?
I'm sorry, Judge. Did you ask for amendments?
I said, is he going to be granted probation in accordance with the agreement if I agree?
Yes, Judge. Yes,
What
Judge.
kind of probation?
It's just regular probation.
All right. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, did you sign a form wherein you asked the court to grant you deferred adjudication probation?
Sí.
Among the things that is important for you to clearly understand is that a deferred adjudication probation, which, by the way, particularly when you see what you were originally charged with, a deferred adjudication probation is very beneficial to you for several reasons.
Judge, it's not a deferred offer.
I thought you said he was being granted deferred adjudication.
Judge, I said regular probation.
Okay. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, just to make very clear, you are being granted what's called regular probation. I need you to understand that probation is a written, legal, binding agreement. Upon your entering an official plea, the court has the authority and will find you guilty. And then punishment has been agreed to between you and the state, and it is a recommendation which I will consider. The written legal binding agreement will require you to live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision. Those conditions that you live up to on your side of the agreement are basic and important. My side of the agreement as the judge will be to probate or suspend particularly the jail sentence that is agreed to. If you fail or refuse to live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, then the state may ask me to give you official notice, have a hearing, and if the evidence is sufficient, in my opinion, I can revoke the suspension and send you to jail in accordance with the agreement that's been made. The conditions of probation are going to be read to you. You will sign them, and a copy will be placed in your hands. Have you understood what I am telling you about probation?
Sí.
All right. State, do you have any motions on this case?
Yes, Judge, we would move to waive and abandon the extreme intoxication enhancement and proceed just as a DWI first.
No objections, Your Honor.
There being no objection, the court grants the motion. Mr. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade, as a result of the hard work of
Sí.
your attorney, you're no longer charged with extreme intoxication, which is a heavy punishment range in your case. It is reduced to DWI first, or what is commonly called DWI misdemeanor B. There's a significant difference in the level of the crime alleged, in addition, and particularly the punishment available for it. So you're now charged with DWI misdemeanor B, DWI first. Do you understand that?
Sí.
To the charge of DWI misdemeanor B, also known as misdemeanor DWI first, rather. How do you plead, sir?
Culpable.
Did anyone threaten you, intimidate you, or promise you anything in exchange for your plea other than the plea bargain that you have reached?
No.
All right, before we go to the issue of punishment, do you have children you support?
Sí.
How many children and what are their ages?
Ah, so, es que tengo tengo dos hijas mías y son dos niños de mi señora. Y el más grande tiene 12, es hombre, y luego el que sigue tiene 5, es hombre, y tengo una niña de 2 años y tengo una niña de 1 año.
All right. Does your wife work outside the house?
Sí.
All right. What does she do, sir?
Cuida a una señora grande, una viejita.
All right. State, what is the recommendation on punishment?
Judge, the recommendation is a $500 fine plus court costs, 180 days Bear County Jail probated over 16 months, DWI education, victim impact panel, TAP evaluation, ignition interlock for half the term, 48 community service hours, and restitution, if any, to be determined.
Is this to a private individual?
Judge, I don't have that information in front of me. I don't believe so, or else it would have been noted in the plea agreement.
All right. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, how do you make a living and how much do you make per month?
Oh, pues trabajo en construcción y no mucho, como unos 2,400.
A week?
No, no, dijo al mes.
All right, just want to make sure that you're telling me that under oath. 2,400 a month. All right,
Ujú.
I accept the recommendation that the state and you have worked out. First of all, based on your plea and the evidence, I find you guilty. You are fined $500 plus court costs. You are sentenced to 180 days, Bexar County Jail. Probated, suspended for 16 months. You will complete the DWI education program in good faith. You will submit to and participate in the victim impact panel. You'll submit to a TAP evaluation and the recommendations subject to my approval. You will have ignition interlock installed in your vehicle for a continuous 8 months. During that entire 8 months, you're not to drive any other vehicle other than your own, equipped with the ignition interlock system. You will perform 48 hours of community service restitution. You will pay restitution to be determined by the probation department, but the probation department is ordered to inform me if and when there is a determination of the restitution. Since it is wide open, I'm not going to approve it in that fashion. It'll have to be subject to my approval. Your supervisory fee will be $25 a month. I further find that you are indigent and cannot afford and should not have the imposition of the state fine for DWI conviction. Mr. Alvarez-Andrade, you're ordered to come within 1 week to the offices of County Court at Law Number 5 to have your thumbprint placed on legal documents as required by law. In addition, you will not leave this meeting. You need to meet with Ms. Maricela Luna, the court liaison officer, who will explain to you how to get started on the probation program. Do you have any questions, Mr. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade?
No.
Any questions, Ms. Lita?
No, Judge.
State?
Nothing further from the state, Judge.
All right, then this concludes this particular
Judge,
proceeding. Yes.
did you ask him if he was a US citizen and did you go over the Padilla versus?
Yes, I did, ma'am. Ms.
Okay.
Lita verified that Mr. Nelson Alvarez-Andrade has been properly counseled as to consequences of this plea, and in particular that the Padilla versus Kentucky requirement